Good evening and welcome to VSB News Online for Thursday, November 27th. I'm Peter Cattell. The hiring policy of Fairmont Hotels was slammed today by unions, disgruntled applicants, and politicians for its lack of personal contact and use of cold computers. And now former politician and professional golfer Kim Swan has revealed that he too has been rejected after a computer ruled that he was not even worthy of an interview. In this case for the post of Director of Golf at the Turtle Hill Golf Course.
It's wrong, and the feelings that I've experienced, had it not been for being a more experienced, mature person, I have great empathy for the younger people and what their future holds. So I was encouraged to hear the shadow minister who I made representation to taking up this course on specifically and more genuinely.
Now, when you sit on your computer and you send your application, it invites you to fill out a kind of preview, a series of questions. There's no yes or no answer to it, but that computer somehow manages to come up with a decision that you are not suitable for the job. You didn't even get a chance to discuss your qualifications.
You're correct. The computer gives you the opportunity to download your resume, in which I believe it's extracted the information that's required. I believe it provides you with an opportunity to update that, and then you're invited at a later time to do a questionnaire, sort of survey. I would equate it to the type of profiling that one complains about when they're in airports or when they're traveling overseas, and people look at you and make a false assumption. Now, obviously, those things are done necessarily, and in the large corporations, they're wielding through a lot of people, as you mentioned. But in Bermuda, we're a small society. And it's easy to know there are people that come with certain skill sets. With me, it was very difficult for me to take this, because I know the experience that I'm proud of dates back to the 70s, working in the industry, working my way up from locker room attendant to general manager of a government quenga, doing 3 contracts, having been successfully audited 8 consecutive years with a clean bill of health, company-wise. Proud of that, but to have someone tell you in this day and age that you're not qualified, and not even someone prepared to sit down and discuss it with you, and to be computer generated, it's not on. It's not healthy socially, because it's no way when you're dealing, particularly in the tourism industry, it's a social industry. You're dealing with people. You're dealing with people's emotions that can change on a dime, on the flip of a coin, and human interaction is paramount. And you're trained that, you learn that through socialization. So to think that a computer can err in that, I think so in this case, and I think that the Fairmont have made a grave error.
Deputy Premier and Minister of Finance Bob Richards can hardly believe the reaction there has been to his announcement of the plan to build a new airport. In particular, the suggestion that $1 billion of its revenue will be given away. In an effort to set the record straight, the minister has participated in a half-hour interview on CITV as part of its In the Know series, in which interviewer Lisa Pickering talks to him about the project. You can watch this on CITV Cable 2 or WOW 102 at 8 p.m., 4 p.m., 8:30 p.m., and 4 a.m. In this excerpt, Ms. Pickering asks the minister about the creation of jobs.
Now, this airport terminal proposal obviously is going to create a lot of jobs. What are we looking at in terms of skilled and unskilled work?
Well, I can't give you a breakdown for that yet. We're still really at early days here. The memorandum of understanding that I signed with Canadian Commercial Corporation is just sort of like the starting gun on a race that will last really in total 3.5 years. It'll take a year between now and when we actually get shovels in the ground. And that procurement process it'll be a lot shorter than under the sort of traditional methodology which we've been hearing about. So a lot of things have to be worked out between now and then. So people are looking for specifics, how many, I don't know how many jobs, I just figure it's going to be at least a few hundred. Whether they're going to be skilled. Clearly, to build an air terminal, you need a lot of skilled people. You're going to need unskilled people too. And I think we have a lot of surplus. We have a lot of slack in the economy, and therefore we have a lot of people who are skilled who aren't working in various parts of the construction industry. So I think it'll be a very good thing for those people, whether they be sort of plumbers, carpenters, steel erectors, drywallers, truckers, all those kinds of people will be impacted by this airport, impacted positively.
And what about long-term employment as well? Do you see the numbers increasing for long-term staff at the airport?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I think that the staff that are there now are certainly good staff, particularly the management of our airport is first class. And so I think that there should be no diminution of staff. Certainly the airport would be more efficient than what we have now, but I don't think in terms of running the airport there will be any issues as it relates to staff.
Minister of Home Affairs Senator Michael Fay has revealed that he is to extend his self-imposed deadline for major changes to the work permit policy beyond December 1st. He explained why to his Senate colleagues and will be addressing the issue tomorrow at a press conference.
The government will not stop in its desire to see Bermudians employed, and that's where I will move very quickly onto immigration work permit policy. The immigration work permit policy has been in a public consultation phase now for months. Stakeholder groups have been consulted for months. The public consultation that was out for a good month to the public through the website listed a number of written responses, which I've been very grateful. And I have to say that some of those responses, as I've said, have been very insightful and very, very useful. And I think it's fair, and I will say now, and before I make a more formal statement, that obviously we're not going to make the 1st of December deadline that I self-imposed, because I am looking and continuing to review the input that I've received from those that gave that public consultation. I'm missing that deadline. You'll see that the fee regulations were not debated last week because I'm at this stage not entirely comfortable with the policy as it stands based on some of the items and some of the feedback that I'm getting on what could happen with certain items in that policy. Because whether the opposition wants to paint it or not, in one way about who they think I may be, I want to make sure that Bermudians are given the real opportunity that they richly deserve. And if I believe that there's something that won't work, then I'm quite happy to say, well, I'm not going to implement the policy I've been lobbied for. So I'm working on that. And that is a sign of true consultation and true openness, to say that I'm missing the deadline that I imposed for me, because I'm not happy with where we are at the moment.
Bermuda's fascinating royal heritage is celebrated in a new book just released by the National Museum of Bermuda. VSB's Charles Webb has details.
The 220-page book, prepared by Rosemary Jones and museum director Dr. Edward Harris, depicts Bermuda's association with royalty from 1593 during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, some 88 years after the island was recorded and named. Through the years of royal visits, the book shows Bermudians of all walks of life interacting with a then slim, glamorous queen and her consort, being escorted across the island by governors and welcomed by smiling school children, and strolling with a host of premiers, mayors, parliamentarians, and officials who were afforded the honor of meeting her. Are there any specific highlights in the book? Every page is a highlight, as members of the royal family cross Bermuda during efficiently orchestrated visits, right up to her 2012 Diamond Jubilee year visit, when the Queen dined at the Tuckers Point Hotel. A unique touch in the book that begs mentioning is it lists all who were recognized for long-time or extraordinary civil, diplomatic, and military service through appointments to various royal orders and honors. Forgive me for being crass, but the royal book comes off the press just in time for that unique Christmas gift, a right royal steal for the princely sum of $30. For VSB News, I'm Charles Webb.
And we'll be back with more news after this.
The Marketplace Food Court is you and your family's one-stop shop. Start your day at the Breakfast Bar with omelets made to order and traditional Bermuda codfish breakfast. The chefs will cook lunch and dinner to your liking. Along with the salad bar, sandwich bar, sushi bar, and fruit bar, the Marketplace Food Court is your kitchen away from home. Every day is hassle-free with nutritious meals from the Marketplace Food Court. Visit us 7 days a week. Homemade cooking, quality service, all at prices you can count on.
The Bermuda Sloop Foundation has announced the appointment of Diana Martin as its CEO in place of Denise Riviere, who is leaving after 5 years to manage her own company. Once again, Ms. Martin has served previously for 2 years on the Sloop Foundation's board and has several years of management and fundraising experience, as well as first-hand experience at sailing on large boats and life at sea. With her leadership, the Sloop Foundation will continue to collaborate with the Mirrors program and provide a unique character development program for the 400 12 and 13 years old children who will sail on board the Spirit of Bermuda this school year. The foundation also wished to thank the outgoing CEO for her invaluable input and energy. It's not the fact that the OBA are seeking to build a new airport that upsets the opposition, says its Senate leader, Diallo Rabane. The issue is the secrecy with which everything the OBA introduces appears to be handled.
Obviously, there is some friction there. There is some difference of opinion. What we are saying, what the Progressive Labor Party is saying quite succinctly is that this MOU was signed, and if this project does go through, we are convinced that this will be a backdoor way of privatizing the airport, something that the Minister of Finance has said that he wants to do in the budget that he gave this year, and it seems like he's going full steam ahead. I think it goes back to something I mentioned last week, is the One Bermuda Alliance seems to be very, very bent on just forcing these agendas through and not really caring about what the people think. And as I said today in the motion to adjourn is, hey, just because people are asking for more clarity doesn't mean they don't. It doesn't mean that they disagree, or doesn't mean that they think you're up to shenanigans. But if you refuse to answer, and you seem to be insulted and give off the attitude of how dare you ask me a question about what I'm trying to do, all it does is breed mistrust. And right now we have a party that campaigned on transparency and clarity, and they're anything but. Everything seems to be done in the cloak of darkness.
And now we turn to Earl Baisden, all the way from the Central American and Caribbean Games in Veracruz, Mexico, for today's Sports Report.
Hello, and welcome to VSB Sports. I'm Earl Baisden reporting from Veracruz, Mexico. As the men's national rugby team put the final touches on their preparation to begin competition tomorrow, we take a look at what took place in Jalapa. It wasn't a good day for the defending champion in the men's long jump, as Tyrone Smith failed to reach the final. Cheyenne Smith finds herself in 7th place in the women's heptathlon. Now to sports. Cheyenne and Tyrone Smith both began competing in the 22nd Central American and Caribbean Games track and field in Jalapa. Cheyenne Smith began taking part in the women's heptathlon. At the conclusion of day 1, Smith finds herself in 7th place with a combined score of 3,039 points. In her first event of the day, Smith clocked 1480 in the hurdles, finishing 4th in Heat 1. Her time put her 9th overall. Smith then finished 9th in the high jump, clearing a height of 1.55 meters. With a top toss of 11.28 meters, Smith finished 6th in the shot put. She then closed out the day with a 3rd place finish in Heat 2 of the 200 meters, clocking a time of 25.08, which put her 4th in the event. The men's long jump did not go according to plan for the defending champion Tyrone Smith. Smith did not reach the final as he recorded a top leap of 7.17 meters, which saw him finish 11th. Smith recorded a foul on his first attempt. He then followed that with a leap of the 7.17 meters. He needed 7.50 meters on his last attempt to make it into the final, but he could only manage 7.14 meters. Two races were held on day 3 of the CAC Games sailing event on the waters of Veracruz, Mexico. Cece Woolman and Cameron Pimentel were back in action in the women's laser radar and men's laser divisions. During the first men's race and the 6th of the series, Pimentel finished 4th. He then finished 11th in the 7th race of the series and the second and final race of the day. Pimentel currently holds down the 11th place spot with 56 net points. Woman finished 7th in the first and second races of the day, which were the 6th and 7th of the series. Woman now holds the 7th place spot overall with 38 net points. Last night, the Bermuda Cricket Board held their annual general meeting at Charity's House. Elections for the post of president and treasurer were voted on, with Lloyd Frey returning as president and Gershon Gibbons re-elected as the treasurer. The positions will see the pair hold office until the AGM in 2017. In addition, Calvin Waldron and Clay Smith, as well as Lorenzo Tucker, were elected as club representatives. Gillian Teixeira concluded competing in her second indoor competition of the season, competing in Belgium. On the final day, Teixeira competed in 2 classes. Teixeira and Lacvals finished 47th, taking part in the 1.30 meter Table A against the clock class. They recorded a time of 59.35 and they had 16 penalty fault points. During the Grand Prix 1.5 meter Table A with a jump-off class, Teixeira and Tamarino finished 11th, clocking a time of 38.55 and they had 8 penalty fault points. It was a marathon night at the Bermuda Squash Rackets Association Club during day 4 of the club championships. A total of 6 matches needed a 5th set to determine a winner, with several other matches needing 4 sets. Murray Brewer needed 5 sets to defeat Tony Parentes 8-11, 11-7, 11-9, 6-11, 11-7 in their men's veteran quarterfinal match, while 3 matches in the men's classic plate division went the distance. Shane McDonald defeated Greg Fitzgerald 5-11, 12-10, 11-9, 4-11, 11-6. Dan Bortelli defeated Anthony White 14-12, 8-11, 8-11, 11-4, 11-6. Ben Bremner got by John Stout 11-7, 12-10, 7-11, 5-11, 11-7. Ryan Hopkins won his men's plate division match over Aaron Smith 11-9, 5-11, 3-11, 12-10, 11-5, and Kevin Gillespie defeated Gary Levon 7-11, 11-3, 6-11, 11-7, 11-5 in their men's veterans plate match. The Barclay Institute defeated all opposition on their way to winning the 2014 Bermuda School Sports Federation Senior Netball Tournament. Barclay defeated Soltis 16-4, Cedarbridge Academy 8-3, Warwick Academy 10-0, BHS Blue 10-1, and BHS Gold 7-2. Mount St. Agnes ended Warwick Academy's long-standing stranglehold on the Bermuda School Sports Federation Middle School Boys Volleyball Championships with a 25-18 victory in the final. Warwick advanced to the final and they defeated Soltis Grammar 25-11 in their semifinal match, while Mount St. Agnes defeated TN Tatum 25-14. Thank you for joining. I'm Earl Baston here in Veracruz, Mexico, reporting for VSB Sports.
Thanks for watching VSB News Online for Thursday, November 27th. I'm Peter Cattell.